Welcome back to Double Your Sales Now. I'm super excited for you to be here with us today because I have a very, very special guest. She's back, Rebekah Hall, one of the master coaches here at Sales Coach Now and the CEO of her own company and another company. She's got so much going on right now, but she stopped by because we're going to be talking about 7 strategies to break through your current income ceiling and 2x, 3x, 4x plus your business. And I really wanted to have Rebekah here to talk about the things that go on behind the scenes, the conversations that we have, and how we really propel our clients to multi-6 and 7 figures and beyond. The truth is only 3% of women business owners make it over the 7-figure mark. And we're committed to helping more and more women and men make it to that next level because it truly changes their lives and their legacy. So before I formally introduce Rebekah, I just want to say hi to her and then we have a little bit of housekeeping. So Rebekah, welcome back.
Thanks. I'm excited. I always look forward to me being a special guest and then seeing what my stats are after you air it. So it'll be fun. Am I getting more popular or less popular?
Well, all of your episodes have been really well received and watched and have high stats. So I'm sure this will be no different. We're going to hear from our clients who are listening. And I want to say hello to our clients all over the world and our listeners all over the world, whether you're listening in the car or I know a lot of you listen on the treadmill. So we're just super excited to have you here. If you're not on the treadmill or driving, definitely get out a pen and a piece of paper because you're going to want to take some notes. Couple things before we get started. If you haven't joined us at the 2X Intensive, it's a 2-day virtual class to help you 2X, 3X, or 10X your revenue and shave 10 or more hours off your work week. We have had such outstanding results reported by our clients. We even had a client remove 17 hours of work per week from her life, which brought back 68 hours for her to focus on the needle movers in her business. We've had other clients who at a minimum have released 40 hours a month. So if you're looking to get to that next level next year, all you have to do is go to salescoachnow.com/apply, and that's APPLY, and give us a little bit of your information. We'll set up a time to talk. We'd love to have you come and play with us. What else? We still have virtual sales camp happening. That's our 2-day signature course to help you blast through those sales blocks. And it's really if you're at, a little under 6 figures, trying to break through that first 6 figures and want to really fine tune your sales process, that class can help you get to the next level. So email us at contact@salescoachnow.com because we have very special prices for our listeners. All right. So with that, let me tell you about Rebekah. Rebekah and I have known each other for about 454 years now, we think. We're trying to figure out the exact math, a long time. And she is a veteran business coach with over 15 years of experience and has worked with over 2,500 companies. Her expertise is centered right in the middle of the action as an operations and systems expert. She spent 8 years running a company developing systems and processes around sales, marketing strategies, product development, revenue modeling, scalability, and leadership. In 2012, she took all of her experience in building companies to focus solely on transforming C-level executives into powerhouse leaders who perform with excellence, both on the business side and with their teams. In addition to her business acumen, Rebekah received training in a specific methodology known as ontology. She's able to create powerful breakthroughs where the client discovers blind spots or blocks that keep them from optimal performance and personal harmony. Together, a unique facilitation occurs to give the client a new perspective about how they can show up differently for their colleagues, family, and even how they see themselves. Also, she is SOAR certified, which focuses on the bridge between ontology and business leadership. Her ability to get to the root of the issue by laying out a strategic action plan has produced results time and time again. And I'm a true testament to that. Rebekah and I coach each other back and forth all the time. And I'm very, very, very particular about who I allow into my world at Sales Coach Now to work with our clients. And I truly trust Rebekah and have seen so many of our clients have breakthroughs. Working with startups to multi-million-dollar established companies, Rebekah has the skill set to work through most roadblocks that you may be experiencing in your growth to success. And in her leisure time, she lives in San Diego, so I'm just a little bit jealous. But Rebekah loves traveling to places that require a diving certification and a diverse culture. She is married to the amazing Jess with 5 kids and 2 pups. So some of you know Rebekah really well. If you haven't met her yet, I guarantee you're going to appreciate how she shows up in the world and how she gets right to the heart of the issue. So Rebekah, let's just dive in. One of the reasons I wanted to have you back is because so many of our clients have reported that they love working with us together, and that it's different because you and I bring different things to the coaching relationship. While I love swimming around in the world of quantum physics and mindset, and you do those things as well, you really love being in the systems and operation space to lay out how to really scale a company, how to get it to that next level. So I'm just going to throw this back to you. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think has been effective for our clients in terms of working with us?
Well, I know we're going to cover some of those things today, but I think number one, a client that can step forward, right, and really see that, like, hey, I'm going to get my business where I want to be, probably even farther if I actually incorporate other minds in helping me do it. And so I think there's that really key, I just have to do everything by myself, or I'm too proud to ask for help, or there's this thing kind of in our culture where, especially in entrepreneurship or business ownership, whenever we get together, a bunch of us, it's kind of like this peacocking, posturing type of thing. And so everyone will be like, how's business? And you're like, business is great. Hasn't been any better. I mean, the pivot I'm making right now during COVID is awesome. Right. And so we don't really get vulnerable about, man, I'm so sick of writing copy right now. I can't even think of any more content, or, just things that happen in the business. I'd love to be able to have us be a little bit more open. In fact, one client we have that she is just zero filters, no shame in, she's just made incredible leaps and bounds. I even look up to her and her willingness to be open and vulnerable, and just really, we say, put your guts out there. She's like, I'm putting my guts out there. I think that's someone that's just going to get the most out of coaching. And so just even willing to approach the fact that you don't know what you don't know, and to be able to ask help from people, I think is probably the biggest first step that we're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, the guts on the floor that we talk about, because we do have clients, especially one who her willingness to be vulnerable at times is almost uncomfortable. And because of that, she opens up all of us. I mean, I'm first to admit, a lot of our clients, we're walking hand in hand with them. We don't feel like we're not better than, smarter than. We just have we've really studied the coaching space and how to help people get to that next level, and how to open up those limiting beliefs and all those pieces. But we love walking with our clients, and we learn so much from them every single day. So it's really at this community of up-leveling that we've created. And, for our listeners, this is going to be a 2-part series. I've been wanting to have this conversation with Rebekah for a long time, and I thought the timing was perfect as we're coming into this end of the year of COVID, of so many different things that have happened in our businesses. And as I've said before, our heart goes out to those businesses who haven't survived, or business owners. Although I have a feeling some of you who are listening, if that one business didn't survive, you're thinking about your next one. And I want to encourage you to keep going. Some of you have started multiple businesses. I know Rebekah and I have been busy in the background doing all kinds of things. So some of you found many ways to use your skills and gifts during this very interesting time. And so as we roll into the end of 2020 and you start to think about 2021 for yourself, I want you to open up to what's possible. We launched our new course, the 2X Intensive, this year, and we have just seen our clients have remarkable breakthroughs. And the 2X Intensive is all about taking your business from, 200,000, low 6 figures to multi 6 figures and 7 figures. And when we see these conversations that are happening inside of our Facebook groups, it is mind blowing, because one of the pieces we knew we needed to create was more of a sense of community with our CEOs, and seeing them work together, seeing them encourage each other, seeing one, we see comments like, oh, I'm about to land another $150,000 contract. Look what that's going to do to my business. Or I'm about to hit, look, I've mapped out my 7 figures for the first time. It's going to happen in 2021. These are the conversations that are happening even in this time of COVID. And I just think we're so happy for our clients who've been willing to do this hard work during this time, because it's not easy. Rebekah, you said at the beginning, when COVID hit, it was a shock to every single one of us. And I've been very open about all the shifts that I had to go through, and, the week of really feeling sorry for myself and wanting to lay the business down and thinking, oh my gosh, this is it, it's over, right? I can relate, and so can Rebekah, to everything that, our listeners, you have been going going through during this time. And the more vulnerable we can be, the more we can share about sometimes how tough it can be. I think the easier it is to feel normal during this time. And I don't know about you, Rebekah, but before we get into the 7 strategies and the content, I just want to talk about at a high level, just the isolation and the, trying to be a lone ranger at a time when you just can't. I know I've struggled with that. I've stepped into 2 other coaching programs to get the support that I need. But I know, mental health is a real issue right now. I just want to make sure we talk about that. Rebekah, what are your thoughts on how entrepreneurs can take care of their mental health during this time?
Well, I think again, it goes back to, our willingness to be open. And you and I have talked a lot about that. There's no shame in what's happened. When COVID hit, a big part of my business was getting on a plane and going and training in person and coaching in person. And that was a big hit when you're like, oh, you can't travel anymore. And there is part of me that's like, you get so used to like how you're doing business. Like if you would have said, a year ago, like, hey, so you're going to basically retool your whole entire business and you're going to deliver everything through Zoom or, something like that, I would have said, there's no way. I mean, COVID hit, in my businesses, we lost 75% of our revenue like that, like overnight. And so I feel like, when you say like, hey, we get it, to an extent we do. Ursula and I both get it because we had to retool our whole entire business like that. And I think, we lived through the recession. So I think that's why we jumped on a little bit quicker is we're like, wait a minute, this sounds a little bit familiar. Like we need to get moving. But, I think it's, you've got to be able to mentally pull yourself in to say, look, I believe in my skill set. I believe in like the problem I solve or the need I meet in my business. And all I'm really considering right now is like, what vehicle am I using to deliver that? And I think that's something that we really got to nail this year. And we're still, right? Things are still changing depending on where you live and regulations and all that kind of stuff. But belief is like, it's got to start with that, because if you just put a toe in the water, you're not going to be open. You're not going to be vulnerable. And so I just like to just be direct and just get it out. And like, hey, like Ursula, you said, like, I thought I was going to lay my business down. Like, I thought this is it. I thought, wow, there's not a value there for me anymore, or for a client for me to come out to them because I can't. And so just like declaring that and saying, look, that's where we're starting from. We're starting from like a huge dip in revenue, a huge change in our whole entire industry, and really rethinking that. And you can either like cower and be like, this is going to be the hardest thing ever, I don't even know if I can do it, to like, wow, this could be a big opportunity. And while, again, you said we don't want to dismiss the some of the really big downsides of COVID, I also can see, for me personally, a ton of upsides for our industry, for our clients, even down to like health, and all that kind of stuff. So, what you choose to focus on is going to be like one of your biggest assets in trying to, navigate. And, we've been asked, like, people are like, well, how are you working with your clients? Like, what are you even doing trying to coach people through this COVID pandemic? And I'm like, well, it's not any different than coaching people before, because there was never a crystal ball in business. It's just a little bit more intense right now, but this is business all the time, is getting out in front of it and being like, what's my strategy? What am I trying to achieve? How am I measuring that? What am I looking for? Where do I need to pivot? You didn't have to just pivot during COVID. You've always had to pivot. It's just that all of us are pivoting at the same time right now, which makes it like very relatable. But the rules of business, or, trying to navigate a business through COVID, isn't necessarily that much different than trying to navigate a business when there wasn't COVID. So I think it's super important to just have that acknowledgement and know that, there's no need to posture, not in our community. There's no need to posture in our community. Like, we're very happy to share. We've had to like shift our business and even some of our low times. And that's why we hang out together too, right? Because if you're trying to do this by yourself, it's hard. You do not want to do this by yourself, and there's no need to. You're much more powerful when you link up with a community that can help support you, and you bring things to each other.
Yeah, it's so true. And We're going to talk about really 7 strategies that we think could really help you right now and dig into that from the perspective of this pandemic. And I keep shaking myself because I'm like, it is December. I mean, we are like, when this started, I think, well, at least I did. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like 2 weeks. It'll be over. And it was like, all right, it's gonna be 2 months and we'll be out by the fall for sure. Like the kids will be back in school. No. And so, and here's the thing. I mean, looking at where we are right now, it's going to take time for, I think there's 100 different vaccines, and this isn't a vaccine. However you feel about that, that is totally up to you. I do think that's going to bring something back to people feeling a little bit safer and more normal, but that's going to take time. I mean, 100 companies are going to be producing vaccines is what I just heard. And the rollout's supposed to start in December. So we'll see how that rolls out. In the meantime, though, it's like, how can you continue to grow your business in this different climate? And I think for a lot of us, there's going to be things that we don't ever go back to. I know our business shifted so much to a virtual model, and guess what? We're going to probably stay in a virtual model for a lot of reasons. And the upside has been we're serving clients all over the world, and it's easy to jump on Zoom. And I have clients, and we've had clients showing up from Canada. A lot of the programs I'm in now, I'm meeting a lot of people from Europe, which has been really fun. And I know that, our business is going to continue to expand. And it's really fun when we have people from Australia or, Europe, they're getting on at 8 o'clock at night or whatever, like how much later, but they're there, they're committed, right? So think about, what's your global footprint? How can you continue to expand even in this virtual model if your business can? Or are there other ways that you can continue to pivot? So we'll probably, in part 1, we're going to probably cover the first 3 strategies that I want to talk about, and then we'll finish the other strategies in part 2. And again, we're really talking about 7 strategies to break through your current income ceiling to 2x, 3x, 4x your business and beyond. And a lot of us have income ceilings. So the first strategy we're going to talk about is know your numbers. Like project out exactly what you want to hit in the next 12 months, down to the ridiculous, right? Down to the, how much are you bringing in each day so that you can measure your numbers. And that we start there because I know in my experience in working with, thousands of entrepreneurs and training and private coaching, most of our entrepreneurs fight this first piece. Most of our CEOs don't want to know their numbers. They don't dig into their numbers. There's just a lot of fear around there, especially women business owners. And so, Rebekah, let's talk about that. Why do you think business owners, CEOs get stuck with this first piece of projecting their revenue out for the next 12 months or really digging into their numbers?
Got to get that mute button. I would say it's probably pretty close to the same reason why they don't check their personal bank accounts, right? Like when it comes to like measuring the money or measuring the performance, we get really skittish, unless you're killing it, right? If you won the lottery, you're like, I'll look at my bank account every day. That's super fun. But the numbers, some people say, I'm not good at math. They automatically assume that numbers mean math. So that's probably one of the biggest myths is the numbers aren't necessarily about math. The other thing is maybe the numbers are too big. So you have a limiting belief against the numbers. Some people are actually afraid of success. They fear success so much. And what would they do with all this money? I think we had somebody last month or something that really struggled. Their number was like roof over my head, food in my belly. And I was just like, why? Don't you want more than that? And they were really worried about what their family would think if they were successful. So, we live in a country where we have all kinds of negative things to describe rich people. Dirty, filthy, stinking rich. Rich people are greedy. They obviously cheated their way to get there, or they stepped on someone else, or surely someone has suffered for them to get that type of wealth. You look at it, you look what we think about Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg. Like, there's people that just don't like those guys because they're just filthy rich. There's another one. And I like to think that for most of us, most people have good intentions and are of good heart. And they want to serve, they want to make an impact in the world. And the bigger impact you make a lot of times is in relation to, you have that relation to your wealth. And so part of it is just having a good relationship with money and the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then not saying, I'm not good at math. We love to tell ourselves stories about why we don't have to be responsible, right? And I'd say for women, they see money as family money. And so, or even making more money than if I become a really successful business person or entrepreneur, then what's going to happen to my kids, right? Or I just got to wait until my kids are out of school and then I'm going to be amazing in business. And it's like, why not be amazing in business and an amazing mom and have your kids watch, what you can do, what you could model for them to do. So a lot of the numbers sometimes is just a story we tell ourselves, and that's why we don't look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So for everyone who's listening, just think about, a lot of times it's generational stories. Like think about the stories that were handed down to you about money, and we're kind of getting into the second one is about, about mindset and belief, but like where did those stories begin and what do you still believe today? An easy way to do this, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know my story. What's in my subconscious? Well, an easy way to figure it out is to create a stretch goal for yourself. So a 2x, 3x, 4x, a 10x of your revenue, whatever feels like a stretch, but believable at some level. Because some of our clients have 10x. Some are like, I'm good with the 2x, right? So think about your stretch goal. And if and when you reached it, right, what's the first limiting belief or the first story that comes up about why you can't? And we've noticed a lot in the training that we've done this year that there's a lot of limiting belief around and a lot of story around COVID, right? During this time of COVID, no one's buying. Well, we know that's not true because we have clients who are going to 4x their revenue next year, or maybe even 10x their revenue next year. Like they're setting it up right now. It's already happening. Like billions and trillions of dollars are being exchanged and continue to. And some of the wealthiest people, some of the names that you mentioned, Rebekah, some of those folks have tripled their billions during this time. They're now trillionaires, I think. I'm not even sure of the math, but I know so much money has exchanged hands. What's that?
You don't need to know the math. It's fine.
Yeah. Easy math. Where's my calculator? So all that to say that, the money is still flying around out there, and why can't it come into your business and your bank account? So do yourself a favor and start to dig into the story that you tell yourself. In my family, we had a lot of generational beliefs. My grandparents on my paternal side came after World War II. And so they had, barely gotten out of Germany after the war. Homes have been destroyed, jobs lost. They moved here and they started to farm. And I know for my grandfather, at least what I've heard stories about him, is that was a real struggle. He didn't speak English, didn't speak the language. So he went from having this amazing banking job and doing quite well in Germany to farming. He'd grown up on a farm, but that wasn't his dream, right? So he had to start over. And at times he was working in a factory. And then he ended up developing all these new corn breeds, and he won awards for them. We have his his little trophies showing that he won all these great awards. So he took that skill set and came here, had to completely start over, basically become an entrepreneur. And there's stories that he even was writing books on quantum physics. And I'm going to do everything I can. There's someone in my family has those, and I want to find them. But the beliefs that came down, there was a lot of struggle, right? And so some of those beliefs kept being handed down. And so my first limiting belief, especially after growing up on a farm, which was great, but I believed that you had to work physically hard to make any amount of money. So I took that belief into the corporate world. And while I did great, I grew a $20 million company with a team of 5 salespeople, had this incredible journey. But by the time it was over, I was really sick. And so when I left corporate America and went out on my own, one of my commitments was to holistic health. And I still live in that space of like, how can I be as healthy as possible and have a successful business? And so, Rebekah, what about you? What kind of, we're moving into strategy number 2, which is to shift your limiting beliefs and your stories about your business. Rebekah, what were some of your earliest stories or limiting beliefs about business, money, or sales?
Probably the earliest ones was that I wasn't smart enough, or I didn't, when I saw other people that were successful in business, I had this idea that they were super intelligent, a lot of social, capital or social connections. really charismatic, almost showmanship type. And I'm actually an introvert. And so that was one of the hardest things, is just feeling like I don't have the education, I don't have the family background, I don't have the charisma. Those were probably the biggest things that I had to overcome. And, that I joke about it now, but I'm like, my expertise is the most boring things in business. Processes, systems, strategies, revenue modeling, all of that kind of stuff. So part of it too, again, we go back to that, that facade of being a business owner, that you've just got to be this like super charismatic, intelligent, well-connected type of person. That's absolutely not true. In all the years it really does start with that belief. And I would say the other thing too, because we work with a lot of businesses that are already up and running. What are those beliefs that keep a business that's at 150,000 or 250,000? What keeps them from doubling? And a lot of the time, because a lot of us are from the industrial age and we're like 80s kids, that was all about climbing the corporate ladder and putting in all the hours. One of the biggest beliefs is like, well, it'd be great to double, but I don't want to, because I'm already working 50, 60 hours a week for this money. If I double, I can't work 120 hours a week. So there's that belief that you have to do it all yourself and that everything doubles. The time in the business doubles. And then that a lot of times that mindset is what keeps someone from growing. Like, it's hard enough running a $150,000 company or $200,000. I don't want to run a $500,000 company. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there, because the truth is you'll make more money at that point when you start actually learning how to have a team.
Mm-hmm. And how to scale, which we're definitely going to talk about. I'm so glad you brought that up, because when, it's the reason the 2X Intensive was born, because a lot of our clients came through sales camp, did coaching with us, grew their companies, and then got stuck at an income ceiling. And we started to see this, like they get stuck, and some clients broke through and we kept coaching them individually, but a lot of them got stuck at the $200,000 or $250,000 mark because of the reasons Rebekah just talked about. In that, there was this belief that growing meant more work, more stress. And especially for, women or moms or wives or, people who have these other lives, there was this limiting belief that if I keep growing my business, I'm not going to have time for my family. And I can think of one of our clients who went from 1,000 a month to multi 7 figures. And one of the first things she did was carved out her perfect schedule to make sure that, she could drop her kids off at school, pick them up, and have the team in place to make sure that everything was running when she wasn't around. And that's the true test of a business, right? A true test of a business is, can you leave your company and will it be running when you get back? Let's say 30 days. Like if you left your company for 30 days and you came back, would it still be up and running? And if the answer is no, then it's exactly, we have to look at the systems, how do we scale with systems and operations and team that will ensure it's going to keep running when you're gone, which is going to be a perfect segue, because next round in part 2, we're going to talk about time management, team, systems, and operations, and all those other juicy pieces we haven't gotten to yet. So Rebekah, just to wrap this first session up about talking about numbers and mindset, what would you like to close with today?
Well, one thing that you just said that hit on, like with the moms, and I mean, we have 5 kids. I have 5 kids. I started my business with a 6-year-old. Part of it is like, if I'm not doing all of it, then what's my worth? And I think that's another mindset to tackle on, is we think that what we do in our business is what's valuable. And that's probably the biggest mindset shift that you have to get over. That's what keeps people from hiring a team, because I'm the one that can do it the best. You don't understand. My clients want me. And so that goes back to that belief about time and money and who you really think you're being in your business. And I see that stop. And so, when it comes like, well, I got to be here for my kids and I got to do this and I got to be this person, you have to understand that those are all stories. There's plenty of women that have ridiculously awesome relationships with their spouses and their kids and their family and their friends. I mean, they even and they're making gobs and gobs of money because they know how to lead. And so that I would really want everyone to check in on that mindset, that if I actually left my company for 30 days and my staff handled everything and my clients were happy and satisfied and feeling great about, what we had done for them, how would you really feel? If you didn't have a hand in that, would you be feeling like you were left out? And that's why you're not systematizing your business to leave 30 days? Or would you be so happy that the thing that you put out in the world, the problem that you're solving, or the need that you're meeting, would you really feel good if all that happened and you weren't there? And I see that, but that's why people don't hire, because they're like, no, what I do with the clients is how I value myself. And the truth is, if that really is something that you're biting up against, what I need you to know is now you're limiting the amount of people you can help. And then are you truly in the service or the belief of what you're doing? And so that's definitely something I want everybody watching this to think about. Because if you have a really good team and really good systems, and what you do for the world is valuable or helpful or solves a problem, meets a need, then you would want to serve as many people as possible. And you would know that having that team and like Xing out that mindset that it has to be you all the time can be one of the biggest things to set you free, and getting all the stuff you wanted about being a business owner and still having family time and personal time.
Yeah. Oh, this is a perfect place to end. And there's going to be so much suspense as we move into part 2. So Rebekah, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it so much. We love having you part of our community. I love having these conversations. So thank you. And with that, I want to thank all of our listeners all over the world. Thanks for being here with us. We hope that this information is going to encourage you today. If you haven't yet, go to salescoachnow.com/apply, APPLY. It's a simple, quick form to fill out. It comes to me, and we'll follow up with you. I'll have someone on my team follow up to talk with you about the 2X Intensive and how it can help you take your business to the next level. That's it for now. We'll see you on part 2.